Hello, welcome. Let's see, hang out for a little bit to see if we get a few more people in chat and check to make sure my audio is working like it should be. Stream looks to be running. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to our second Sunday short. I don't know if that's what I'm going to call these things, but we'll figure that out. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Baton Rouge User Group Twitch channel. My name is Brian McCoy. Today we're going to be hanging out and talking about Azure Functions, covering some of the basics, some of the things you could do with it. We're actually going to build one out. I just a little backstory. I used to have a web API that I hosted in Azure, and I would use it for demos. So I've since blown that away. It was on a different subscription, and I need something. So the idea here is to turn it into an Azure function and then throw it out there. But before we get started, I'm just going to check, make sure everything's working like I should be. As usual, this stream will be exported and sent to our YouTube channel. So, feel free to head over there and like or subscribe, so that way you get updates as to when these streams get exported. For now, make sure you like our channel, so that way you get updates as to when we go live. We go live at least the second Wednesday of every month for our main .NET user group. Every once in a while, we'll do these little Sunday streams. We're just trying them out to see how they work, to make sure that I actually know what I'm doing and get a little practice. So, and just produce some additional content. If you ever want to come on stream and hang out and code with us, let me know. We can set something up. So this is a community effort, and I want to take the opportunity and use the resources that we have to kind of promote other developers in our area. So please, use these resources that are available to you. But without further ado, I think I have everything brought up in the background that I'll be using. So I am monitoring chats by myself, but please feel free to ask questions, put comments in the chat, or just flame me as I fail. I have not tried most of this stuff that I'm going to attempt to this morning, so it's very possible that we're going to run into some issues. But yeah, this is not one of the refined user group talks that we would normally give. So this is more of us trying to experiment and figure things out as we go. So let's see if I can transition this over to me. Where's it at? There we go. So, like I said, today we're going to be chatting about Azure Functions. Azure Functions is basically the serviceless compute functionality offered by Azure. It's short and simple. It's basically a way to get something up and running real quick. You could just go into Azure, say, hey, I want a function, send it out there. Everything can be encapsulated into a single file. You don't have to worry about the full-blown API that you would typically have to worry about. And then a lot of the tooling is built in to where it's like a one-click publish. I mean, you basically just say, hey, I want to add my function to this function app, and you're good to go. So that's some of the stuff that we're going to look at this morning. And you can see here are some different scenarios that a Azure function is actually used for. We're going to be using it to build a web API, so it'll be here. One thing you'll notice that Azure Functions is really good about, it's subscribing to events. So as you look through here, you can actually see, respond to a database change. It's essentially subscribing to an event, so that way you can fire things off. So if you're into eventing and that type of asynchronous type communication, Azure Functions is going to offer some really good features that are going to let you do that, especially if you don't need to build a full-blown web API. If you just want something short and sweet, I know a popular thing would be to wrap email functionality. You don't need to build an entire web API to handle your email services. If you want to build that type of abstraction layer, you could just stick it in the Azure Function. Or sometimes what led me down this path would be static web apps. So if you're building something like a static web app where you have very little back-end functionality, maybe just to submit a form or something of that nature, static web apps actually ship with a function or functions that you can just kind of build out. So that way, again, you don't have to worry about the entire deployment process of web API. It's not that it's that difficult, but you don't have to worry about that type of infrastructure. You can just do your serverless compute, and you can shove your Azure function out there, and they're super cheap, super easy to run, super lightweight. So they offer a nice tool in your toolbox for handling different scenarios. As you can see here, running scheduled tasks. That's something that you could do really easy with Azure Function. That API or some other type of service backend, maybe not so much. Message queue systems, IoT data streams. There's a lot of stuff that you could do with these. Again, this time we're just going to be focusing on building essentially a web API. So we'll get in a second. We'll see what that looks like. For now, I'm going to head over to my Azure portal. Hopefully I don't leak any information. You can see here I don't have any resources, so we're going to go ahead and add one. And this is going to be essentially the function app. The function app is just going to be a container that we're going to deploy our functions to. So we may get around to that. We may not. We'll see how the day goes. So if we come in here and search Azure Functions, Azure Functions, we should, let's see if we just do this. Functions. So we can see our function app here. We can go ahead and start the process to create it. We're going to be using my personal subscription. I don't have anything fancy as far as resource groups. I usually delete most of this stuff whenever I'm done. So function app name, we're going to test, I don't know, Brian, Azure Functions. Yeah, it looks good. We're going to publish code. We're not going to publish a Docker container. It'd be cool if we did, but we're not. We're going to use .NET as our stack. As of right now, the only framework that we're going to be able to deploy, it looks like, is 3.1. So that's going to possibly cause some issues for us, but not really. But it's something we're going to have to pay attention to, because typically I'm not building too many things in 3.1 anymore. So it's going to create a new storage account for us. That's fine. I don't know, I always pick Linux, and we want to do the serverless consumption model, so that way it's a lot cheaper for us. I don't want to pay for a service plan or premium. This is my personal account, so I want to keep it as cheap as possible. So keep going. Once we get into here, I'm actually not going to enable App Insights, because all that's going to do is create more storage accounts that I don't want to have to go through and delete later. But if you're running this in some sort of production environment, this is definitely something that you're going to want to turn on. App Insights is really good. You get a lot of stuff out of the box that'll help you see what your app's doing, as far as third-party dependencies or just errors or bad HTTP requests. Like I said, you get a lot of stuff out of the box. It's really nice. You can also set up alerts so you can be proactive instead of reactive. So you don't have to wait for your customers to call in and say, hey, your API is down. You can actually have the App Insight send you alerts. So that's really valuable. So keep going, nothing tagged there. You can see my subscription key, so that's cool. I'm not really worried about that. So we're gonna go ahead and create this. So while that deployment's in progress, I'm gonna switch over to where we're gonna be building it at. So this is a Blazor application that I have. It's on my GitHub repo. It is what I use for demos or talks or something of that nature. you can see here I already set up a branch to do the Azure Function stuff in. So I call it Simple Blazor Router because I don't like all the extra stuff that you get whenever you scaffold out a new Blazor application. I like it to be neat and clean. I don't care if it looks fancy or not. So we're gonna go ahead and run it so I can give you an idea of what we have going on in our app. So if we go here, you can see it's super simple. Basically, I stripped out all of the bootstrap stuff because whenever I'm doing proof of concept work, and you can see here that there's some different things going on as far as bindings and context, as far as a shared context and stuff like that for Blazor. What I typically do is strip out all the bootstrap stuff because I don't want it to get cluttered or messy, and I want to be able to see what the code looks like, because once you start adding in all those class files, those classes, it really starts to clutter things up. This is the last example I did, which is actually a tic-tac-toe game. I did it in a TDD style, so that may be something that I cover later, but I actually did it in the TDD style with B unit. So that's really fun. So whenever I was mentioning earlier that we may run into some issues, one of the problems that we're going to have here is that I'm not going to be able to use my testing libraries because this is a .NET 5.0 app, and then we're going to be building our functions in 3.1. So you can actually get an idea of what we're going to be doing. So here's some stuff. We're going to be adding dependency injection. So basically what we're going to do is I want to evaluate using functions, and whenever I start evaluating a new technology, I like to see what it can do. So some things that are really important to me is obviously dependency injection, since you see this up here, and it's basically, I need to be able to copy and paste this quick, so that way, and that I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't really done this much with functions before, so we're going to kind of use the documentation that Microsoft provides to us to help us work through this. Like I said, there are some things that I really need, and first and foremost is going to be dependency injection. So I wouldn't use the framework if I didn't have it. The second thing that I'm going to need to be able to do is write unit tests. So those two go hand in hand for me because I like to program against interfaces, and it makes mocking things from my unit test a lot easier. So those are the things that we're going to focus on today. Is going to be, let's create an Azure function, let's add dependency injection to it, let's write some unit tests, and then let's look at the different things we can do with the Azure function. The repo that the API that I'm kind of rewriting is a play on the weather endpoint that you get whenever you build out a Blazor application. The only difference is I use Star Wars planets and to get returned. So I use Star Wars planets, and kind of like what does their temperatures look like. I actually did a little bit of research to get somewhat accurate data. So that's what we're going to be returning. The only thing is this is just going to be static data. I don't have it stored anywhere because I'm just calling an API and getting some data back in return, and that's all I really care about. So that's what we're going to be rebuilding. So real quick, let me do this. Uh-oh. All right, make sure all my stuff is still up and running. Things look good. Is anybody out there? How are y'all doing this morning? Let's see. Looks like we have a few people who've joined us. So, all right. Well, first things first. Now that we have our function app built, we can deploy to it. But we don't have a function yet. So if we come into Visual Studio Code, we're actually going to start setting this up. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make a new folder for my simple Blazor router dot functions, and then I'm going to make another one, simple Blazor router dot functions.test. Let me just make sure we have it. All right, so just to have those ready for me for whenever I'm good to go. So if we come into here, we should see our function app. So I've already logged into my Azure subscription inside of VS Code. So I'll be using VS Code in the command line, or a combination of the two, in order to write this function. So you can see some of my tic-tac-toe logic in here. So we can just take this out for now. So the first thing we're going to want to come and do is actually create a function. So we want to select a folder that we want to put our function in. Oh wait, let's see, language, C#. We're going to go with 3.1 because that's what our function app is built in, and what we're going to be deploying to. And then we're going to look for the HTTP trigger. I know I see this one. I guess this is the one that I want. I'm gonna use this one. So I'm going to, I think Dust the Rogue for the follow. Thank you. All right, awesome. Let's see, create the new trigger. We're gonna call it weather conditions. I don't know. And then we're going to call, let's see. Can I see? You gonna let me switch back? All right, cool. The namespace will be simple. Blazor router. I know, creative name. I get it. Functions. Oh, I was gonna say valid characters. All right, we can fix it later. Yeah, we'll fix it later. It's not a big deal. So this is access rights. We're gonna make it anonymous because I don't care. Y'all would be able to hit it before delete it, obviously, but I'll probably just delete it after this and recreate it with a different name. It'll be security by, obfuscation. So hopefully you just never find it. But even still, inside Azure you can put limits on prices on costs, so that way you'll just shut your services down if somebody tries to abuse it. But there are other things that we can do to secure this. One thing we may do in the future is add this to some sort of API management. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So if there's interest in that, let me know. We can add it to API management and actually control access that way. But that may be something that we do next. So for now, we'll say it's anonymous. So we should have our. Oh, I didn't pick the right folder. That's awesome. So actually, this is live, so I don't remember. Let's actually just delete all this and we'll just redo it. Let's discard all those changes. Hooray for source control. All right, I'll go back and remake that. C#. HTTP trigger. Yeah, that's fine for now. We can rename it later. That's fine for now. Rename it later. No. Why is it not letting me pick my folder? That's odd. I must have did something wrong. Let's see. Let's just throw it all in here. So, good enough. We're going to come in here and rename some of this stuff here. Let's rename the source. We're going to rename this to simple Blazor router functions. So 3.1. This looks pretty good. Local settings. The trigger. We're going to fix this namespace too. I know it's an awkward namespace, but it's okay. This is just a test app. Nobody cares. Make sure I get this right. Oh, it's underscores. So, cool. So we have a function, it shows up here. Let's see if we can build. No, it's not showing it. Let's see if it'll run it. All right, I screwed something up. All right, this is going to be fun to figure out. What did I screw up? What did I screw up? .NET. Oh, this looks good. That looks fine. Hosted JSON. That looks fine. Get ignore. That's fine. Oh. No, that's not right. I swear I didn't have this much problem whenever I was trying to do it last time. Let's just close VS Code and open it back up. I wonder if that had something to do with it. Let's go back to my functions. So you can find it. Let's see, run. Let's see, determine projects to restore. Play simple router functions. This looks promising. Nope, still nothing. What'd I do? Come on, get this. Maybe I should have practiced this a little bit more before I came on and did it live, but hey, it happens. I don't see anything. Let's try one more time. Start all the changes. Start the changes, delete file. So we should not see our function. Yeah. We don't have any project. Stop. Oh, this is a good way to stall for content. It's just sit here and flail, but that's fine. Let's see. Selected folder is not a function project. Create a new project. Yes. Let's see if we can go here. Let's delete this. And delete this. That bin folder still exists. All right. Make sure we have the right folder selected. And create a function. Yes, create a new project function. Select language C#, .NET Core 3, HTTP trigger. Provide the function name. Sure, that's fine. Simple. Laser. Router. Functions. Anonymous. Still didn't make it in the right place. Let's see if we can run it and see what happens. This is gonna get messy real quick, but we can see if we can move it all. Oh, now we're getting all kinds of errors. All right, let's just do this. Let's blow it all the way and start completely over. I don't know what I'm missing. If anybody has any idea of what I could be missing, let me know. So I'm going to try to delete all this again, and I'm just going to change branches. So test, delete all this. And then undo all this. And we're gonna just start over. Maybe it's because I actually had something in this branch before. So let's go back to the main branch. And let's see if screw all this stuff. All right. So we're back in the main branch. Let's make sure our simple router still works. So that's still good. I'm gonna even make sure. Simple blazor.test. Yeah. Make sure our tests still run. From the other work that we've done, and it looks like it does. We have 34 pass, so that's cool. So get branch sheet functions 2. Check out sheet 2 function 2. All right. Let's see if that made any difference whatsoever. I doubt it though. Close. Let's open it back up. Sometimes you have that problem with code where it's like, hey, you have errors in this app, even though we know we don't. I don't know what the deal is, but it does that from time to time. So now, let's try to make another function. Let's see if it works this time. So again, C#. That one, HTTP, create a new HTTP trigger. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do this. Just to make sure. I'm gonna go into here. Just to make sure it goes in the right. Oh, let's remove that. All right. That may be the trick. Let's go straight into the folder that we want it to come out. And just stay in here for now. So come back to our Azure function. We're gonna add a function. Yes. C#. 3 trigger. Yeah, that's fine. I don't care. We'll rename it later. Simple laser router functions. Anonymous. restored. There we go. So that's a lesson learned. For whatever reason, it didn't like creating a function like that. It just wanted to be inside. Yeah. You'll do the restore. It'll be fine. I wonder if this works. So yeah, that's a lesson learned. So it actually wanted to be in the folder inside VS Code and not in something else. So good to know for future. I wish I would have done that at first. So now VS Code will stop crying about saying that none of this stuff is there. Our function showed up. So if we come in here now, we should be able to actually run the function. So yeah. So we see our project's being restored. It found the function that it's actually going to run there. And it looks like it's up. And we have an HTTP trigger. Let's see if we click on that. It comes up and we get this message. So let's look at see why we get this message, which obviously it's because it's been coded in. So now we have, let's close that. I don't want that. All right, cool. So now we can go look at our function that we actually have it running. So we can see here that it is pretty simple. It is just a static class. It has a name. Great. That's what it all just kind of inherited, but we're going to rename all this stuff. And then here's its static method run. So it takes in these bindings. These bindings are essentially, as you can see, it's a bit of its configuration. We can say it accepts gets and posts, some route configuration, the HTTP request that comes through. So what is actually happening is the HTTP request comes through. You can actually, by judging this, look for a query, which I'm going to assume is a query string parameter of name. So let's see if this changes anything. Equals. Now you can see we get a different message where it actually pulls the query string off of the request. So here it actually reads the request body and deserializes it into some data. It checks the data for a name. It checks the name for a name. If any of those names exist, it actually changes the response message that we get and then returns an OK object result. Cool. So now we have a function that works. Thank God. Now we can actually start doing other stuff. So first and foremost, what I would want to do is actually create a HTTP trigger of sorts to return my weather statuses. That's right. So if we come back in here, so y'all can watch me flow around some more. Let's just create a new folder and we're going to call it features. And inside here, we'll create a new file and it will be weather conditions. CS. All right, cool. So theoretically, let's see if you're going to let us do this. Come in, take all this out, and let's paste this in here. Functions, features, and we're going to call this weather conditions. We're going to give the function we're going to give it a different name also. Let's see if it'll let us do this. I don't know. So we're going to run, do all the same stuff. We're just going to keep this the same. We're going to see if this actually, see if what I screwed up this time. We'll go back over here, click this to rebuild. And it's saying that's invalid, so that's cool. Oh, there we go. So now we can actually see we have two. We have this one and we have that one. So let's go see if we can just run it and get our two functions. As this builds and runs, thanks to everybody who stuck it out through the little mishaps we just had. Oh, look here. And it actually named it the way I wanted it to be named. So that is fantastic. So let's see if we can hit it. We can hit it. Good deal. We're going to rename it. Or we're going to add the parameter. And it looks like that function is working the way we want. So that is fantastic to actually be moving forward now. So now I'm going to try this again. Actually, no, we'll keep this. We're gonna make another tab. CD projects, simple laser router. Cool. Functions 2, good. Source. Cool. All right, now let's see. What do we want to do? Oh, we may actually need to make another Blazor simple Blazor router application. We're going to make an application folder. So what we're going to actually do now is I'm going to create a provider, a C# class that we're going to inject into this function to actually return that list of the list of weather conditions. So that's what I want to do next. So in my mind, what I need is a shared project or a shared application project. I'm just going to name the folder application. It's just the nomenclature that I'm used to using because of the environments that I work in. So, I mean, you can name it anything that you want, core, services, whatever. So, and then also I want to write tests against this. So typically how I like to do things is from a TDD approach. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is go into the functions.test and create unit tests, which we don't have. So .NET new, I think it's XUnit, right? Oh, I actually got it right for once. All right, cool. So that's there. .NET test. So let's see if we can run this unit test. And looks like we can. Cool, it passed. So let me go back. We'll come back to the function here in a minute. We're actually going to start writing some unit tests because we want to be able to actually so the first thing we want to do is we want to be able to write unit tests, and then we want it to inject that service into our Azure Function. So our Azure Function is good enough for now, but that's not what we want to use going forward. We actually want to use Dependency Injection in there. So we need something to inject, and might as well kind of come out of the gate doing it the right way. That's not the test that I want. So real quick, just because I know this isn't going to work with our actually I'm gonna do this since it's a unit test project. So when we come in here and create our class library, it's going to need to be net standard 2.1 in order to work for our function, which is a 3.1 app. So I'm just going to go ahead and fix the project files while I'm in here. So this guy, I'm actually going to make it the same. I'm going to make it a net core app. You don't need to make it a net core app. You could do this as a standard, but I've already had enough issues this morning. I'm not risking it. So cool. Unit tests, we changed that. What is there? Functions test, and then we could do .NET test again to make sure that our unit tests still run, even though we changed the target framework. If it doesn't, I may just rage quit stream, and it's been nice, and we won't export it, but if it does work, we'll keep going. Maybe it's not going to work. Oh, it works. Awesome. Cool. Cool. All right, so let's come in here. We're gonna make a new folder, and we're gonna call it weather conditions, and then I'm just gonna take this guy. Yeah, we're gonna move it in there, and we're gonna rename it. Name it to weather conditions provider tests. Cool. So we're going to change the name of this to weather conditions provider tests. And it should. I may rage quit. That's okay. No, we're good. So some of my favorite people who actually go out and do training and stuff say it's valuable to put your failures in there so everybody knows that it happens to everyone. So don't feel bad. I mean, that was just a very obscure thing. I actually did run through this, not the unit test part, but creating functions. I've done them quite a few times with Visual Studio Code, and I've never had that issue, but I've always been in the folder that I actually wanted to create the function in. So create weather conditions provider. So thanks for the encouragement, Lehoma. I assume I know who you are, but I'm not going to call you out on stream. I just appreciate you tuning in. So the first thing I want to do is for equal conditions provider equals new weather conditions provider. So nope, just provider. So if any of you are not familiar with TDD, this is kind of how it goes. You actually start writing tests against code that doesn't exist. Your tests fail. So TDD stands for test-driven development. This is just, again, my preferred method of writing code. So if I'm going to practice, I'm going to practice the way that I actually do it. So if you were just hoping that I would just type all this out in the function, I don't know if I could bring myself to do that. I guess I could for really short and sweet proof of concept stuff, but because this project's actually going to live around for a little bit, I'm going to use the tools. So I like to do TDD because I like to do stuff like what I just did, where it'll start scaffolding out all of my stuff for me. So now I can assert I'm actually going to bring in another library real quick just to make my life easy because I'm used to it. So it's a packet. I'm gonna do it on this one. It's a package called Shouldly. So it is just an assert library. .NET Shouldly. We can bring it in here. It's just an assertion library that makes writing your asserts a little bit cleaner. I could use the built-in XUnit ones, and I probably will for catching or testing exceptions. But for now, I'm going to use Shouldly because, again, this is what I use daily at work, and it's going to make my life go smoother if I just do it. So we're going to pull this package in real quick. Hopefully the version works for our project. We'll see what happens. Let's see if Nougat is good enough. And then where was this at? That's at the function level. So because it's gonna fuss again, saying that when it's fussing that this doesn't exist. So I'm just gonna save this and close it. So let's see if we get our, it may not restore, but let's see, Azure Function source maybe created. Yeah, leave me alone. All right. So conditions. Uh-oh, I lost IntelliSense. There we go. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Conditions provider dot should not be null. So this is the syntax that we're going to do. It's going to fuss. Let's see if it'll let me, or if I may have to restore first. Nope, I'm going to have to restore first. So using just shouldly. All right. So essentially, we're going to test to make sure that that class exists. So hopefully I did all of that right. Let's see, let's run it. All right, we got a test. Okay. We got our test pass. So good deal. So now we actually need to make this do something. So it should return. Hold on, I got my project up over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So return 6 conditions. All right. What did I call it? It's just get. So var actual equals conditions provider dot get. So we want this to return the weather values that we actually want our function to return. So we're going to generate that method, and it's going to return something. So obviously here it doesn't even have weather condition. So we need to make all this stuff. I'm just going to make it all in here and then move it later. All right, so so I'm going to start copying and pasting code now to make things go a little bit smoother, and we're going to copy and paste this in. Obviously this is older code, so I'm going to rename the DTO part. All we're doing here is, apparently I have a list of classes, or a list of objects of weather can, let's see, where's, oh, that says current condition. I guess I'm renaming things too. So we're going to return a list of weather conditions. Why is he fussing? Is it just because of the inside stuff? Oh. All right. So here I have a list of things, but they actually need to be values. So I'm going to copy and paste all of those from the previous. Copy and paste. So, I gotta rename all that stuff. All right, let's screw this. All right, replace, find current conditions DTO and replace that with weather condition weather condition doop. All right, that made life easier. Okay, so now it's still fussing because of these, but just use your tools and have it go through and create those properties for you, which is nice to have. All right, cool. So now if we run our unit tests, assuming our class builds, we should get, It's fussing about something. Order by. What do you know, like? See system link. Okay, cool. Is that it? That's why. All right. So copy and paste errors, but that's okay. We're good now. So now let's just kind of look at this real quick. Essentially it. Here's a list of planets that exist in the Star Wars universe, and their name, I just give them a straight ID. It doesn't matter their humidity, temperature, just things of that nature, just to make it a little bit more interesting for people, or not. I don't know. It's all a matter of opinion at that point, but it's going to do what we want to do. We're going to call this endpoint, and we're going to get a list of a list of items. So if we actually can test, let's see, get actual dot. That's going to have to do to list dot count dot should be 6. Then we actually run our unit test now to make sure that that works. So we should have 2 pass tests. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. All right. So now we're going to end up making 2 functions. One is going to get your entire list, which will be these 6. The other one is actually going to get a single. So that means we're going to make, well, I don't know, based off of what I saw, we would have options, right? We could actually do the get all and the get single in the same function, or we can write a separate function for it. I don't know. We'll see how that goes whenever we get there. But we still have a little ways before we get there. It should return a single condition. Cool. So I'm really going to kind of half-heartedly do these tests just so we don't spend as much time on it. But in the real world, I would actually, well, in this case, since all of these values are static, I would write a unit test to return each one of these values, because I want to make sure that they all get returned. But since we're just doing it here, I'm not going to worry about it. I may go back and add them later if I get bored, or that could be another stream. Anyway, so get, and then let's see, which one we're going to pull back. Where's the first one? Alderon. All right, that's a special case. We're not going to do this one. We're going to skip it, and we're going to do Hoth instead. So we're going to return. We're going to get 2, and I'll tell you why later. Or actually, I could show you why. Like I said, this is a test API, so I want to be able to test different things. And one thing that's really important to me in APIs is handling exceptions well, especially from the API end and from the UI end. So if I don't have the code up on this side, but I don't have it up on this side either. But essentially, oh yeah, I do. What we're going to do is, if we actually get Alderon's, if the Alderon's ID is passed in, we're going to throw an item not found exception. So what the original purpose of this item not found exception that I'm throwing is because I actually want this API to return a 404 resource not found if you actually call into it and the item's not there. I don't like to return just a null or an empty object. To me, that doesn't tell me what happened or why. I mean, I can make the assumption that the item doesn't exist in the database, or I can actually have the application tell me that the item doesn't exist in the database. So that's the purpose of it. That's why I'm going to skip over Alderon, but this is something we're going to need to implement, and I don't think we're going to implement it today in the Azure function, but it could be something we come back to, because from what I see, there isn't I forgot what they're called, filters in the Azure functions that will allow me to globally catch exceptions. So what I would typically do is write a filter, and this should be a custom exception. Is write a filter so that way I can bubble this exception up to the top, and any exception of item not found, I can catch it in the Web API filter and actually construct my 404 response. And that way all of it's consistent. And every time I'm in here, if for anything, because obviously we're going to have more than just weather conditions in an application. But if you were to have a bunch of CRUD operations and the gets, if the item isn't there, you want to make sure that all of the responses are consistent. So that's what I would typically do. Not saying it's the right way to do it, but that's what I've found. I like my applications to tell me what went wrong, and I don't want to have to guess. So we are going to. I don't know what it's going to do, so I'm just going to actually write it here. So public weather condition get. Nope. Integer ID. So return. How do I do this here? Oh, I called it from the get. That's funny. Get dot single or defaults x dot id equals ID. So this should actually return something. So if we come in here, we write our test get 2. So now that's actually going to work, and the actual dot should be, or we could do actual dot ID dot should be 2. Oh wait, actually I already read it already. Oh, did I? Oh, I rewrote that one. That's funny. Take that out here. All right, cool. So now we should be able to run and get our passing test. Cool. So we get 3, and just to make sure that we're not just getting lucky, I want to see the test fail. So of course it failed. All right, and it told me that it was actual.id should be 2 but was 1. All right, so go back, fix this again. So cool. This is where I'm gonna have a little bit of work to do. Now, I'm a big fan of using your tools, and to me, my favorite tool is ReSharper, and ReSharper actually has a bunch of handy shortcuts to help move these files into other projects. But since I don't have that on this machine, I am going to have to manually move them, which is not the end of the world. But we also want an interface here. Is that right? Weather conditions provider. So we want our interface for injection purposes. So I'm gonna put that down there, and I'm gonna just get rid of this because we don't need it. We're gonna go to our conditions provider. And add that to the interface. And we can do this. All right, cool. So now we have everything that we want. Now we just need to move it. So if I come into, I don't have my application yet, but we're gonna have to go create that real quick. So let's make sure we touched some code, we did some refactoring. Let's make sure it works. And it does. Cool. I'm actually going to check. We do have a Discord. We do have a live stream chat. I have not been looking at it, so I just want to check and make sure nobody's chatting there. All right, cool. So our test still passed. So let's go and create. Let's see. So that was inside of our application, simple blazor dot application. Cool. I know y'all probably sitting around thinking, I thought this was supposed to be about Azure Functions. Well, it is. We're getting there. We had to make something to inject first. .NET new class lib, I believe is what it is. Cool. So we got our class library. I'm going to go in and do kind of the same thing. I'm going to change this to net standard 2.1. Standard. Is it 2.1? I don't remember if there's a point. Let's see if we can build it. Yeah, it may just be. Nope. Cool, it worked that time. All right, so let's come in here and start creating some classes. So we know this is staying, this is leaving. So can we just generate constructor equals refactor. Nope. All right. So we're just going to come in here. Let's see. Let's delete this. And we're going to start. We're going to put everything in here. So we're going to make a new folder for. We're going to do it at a feature level. So we'll do weather conditions to keep it consistent. And then we know we need a new file, which would be weather conditions provider.cs. And then we know we need a model, so weather conditions.cs. What else do we need? So we have the provider. We're just going to pull the interface into the same one. We'll be lazy. So let's take all of this and go over here, paste it. And we don't need this. We don't need this. We don't really need those two, but for now we'll leave them. So application, and then weather conditions. So go back here and we can actually pull this out, and we're gonna break everything. So we're gonna massive refactoring incoming. Oh. So if anybody's wondering, I do use Vim, or a Vim plugin. So that's why it looks like I'm always in insert mode. And we're going to come here. Oh, and here. And select all of this. Oh, wait. I'm going to do this first. And my namespaces. Get that in my interface. Come here. Drop those in. So cool. All that looks good. We'll leave the interface in here for now. I'm not that concerned about it. So now we need to fix some references because it's going to fuss. And we need to actually add the package or it's going to want to generate everything. So I'm going to actually come here because I have some packages already and I'm just going to be able to real quick copy and paste this over, but change the name, simple Blazor router dot application .cs. Let's see if it just automatically picked it up. Project trouble loading reference. Did I spell it wrong? Simple Blazor router. Simple. Yeah, I did. Application. Oh. APP LICAT. Oh no. Let's just see. Let's just see. Did you get the reference? No. Let's do using simple Blazor router dot application dot weather is it weather conditions? All right, something like I said, code likes to freak out from time to time. So let's just open it back up. You would think it gets annoying, but you kind of just get used to it. Yeah. Azure Function. So everything looks green. Let's see if we believe them or not. CD simple Blazor. Oh no, it's freaking out now, right? Simple Blazor router application doesn't exist. No, that's not right. Let's just delete this. Can I see if it'll let me pull it in now? Nope, it's not gonna let me pull it in yet. So what did we project reference include? And it's gonna fuss. Saying I can't find a project reference. Simple Blazor router. Simple Blazor router dot application. Do I have the project file spelled right? I bet that's what it is. Let's copy this, rename, come into here. Nope. No, still not there. What do we do? What do we do? Oh, yeah, that's what it is. I see it now. Yeah, I just saw it. I had the wrong folder in the path. Let's see if I can put this back in there. That was easy. This is where tools like Visual Studio come in a lot more handy. So cool. Yeah, let's just try it. Run our test again, and they all pass. Cool. So now we're getting somewhere. Now we could go back to our function, and actually we're going to need this line, so we might as well take it with us when we go back to our function. Put it back in here. What's this? I'll save it. Cool. All right, now if we come into our feature, because we're lazy, we're gonna just real quick make sure we have our reference right. Var provider equals new weather conditions provider, and see if we can add this reference real quick. Yep, we can. So we have that set up right. All right, good. So now we actually want to inject this. So now we're back to the Azure Functions. Now we're back to where all of this began, and we actually want to start injecting this stuff in. So if you are familiar with .NET Core development, you will know that there is a startup file that you typically use in order to configure your dependency injection. And if you look inside these folders, you can tell that there is no startup file. We have some settings, we have some host stuff. Cool. But what we actually, so question is now, how do we actually configure the dependency injection to actually work and inject the services that we just wrote? So if you come back here, this is why I wanted this up. We do have some prereq stuff that we're going to need, because we're going to need to add some NuGet packages in order to get this stuff to work. And then we have a startup class right here. So this is actually going to give us the startup class we need in order to use the built-in dependency injection to register the services that we actually want to register. But first things first, before we get into that, we need to pull in the Azure Function extensions library, SDK functions, and the Microsoft extensions dependency injection. So we are using 3.1, so this is what we want. From what I've seen, the 5.0 actually comes with a lot of this stuff built in. It's a little bit more tailored to web API, to your web API development that you've done. See, simple laser functions. So here we're back in our functions. So I'm just gonna come in here and basically do the same thing. Copy and paste. This is the function project. So we're gonna add that. Add this and add. I don't know if some stuff has been added already, but the docs say to do it, so we're gonna do it. We'll just blindly trust Microsoft and everything. Let's do let's see if we can just build our function. We're not going to run it. You actually have to use the function command line to run it. That's something you have to install as a prerequisite. I actually already installed it because I've ran some functions locally, so be mindful of that. If we come in here, everything seems to build. If we look, here's the packages that we just added, so they seem to be there. Hopefully I don't run into any issues with versions. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to call it startup, just because it's what we're used to. Startup.cs. Come back here, and I'm just going to lift this out because I'm lazy, and we've done enough typing. So lift that out. We're gonna have to change the namespace to simple Blazor router dot functions. And we don't want that. We actually don't want to register it that way. Technically, we could do it as a singleton. It wouldn't matter because it's essentially a static class and not making any connections. But let's not. So do builder.services.add. Should be able to do your add transient, and then weather conditions provider, and then weather conditions provider. So we'll talk about this in just a second. So cool, we found our namespace and everything. So essentially what this is doing is it's going to tell, I guess, our builder, let me change that. Okay, cool. It's going to change. It's basically going to tell the pipeline whenever this function gets ran. If you ever find that a function that we're running requires an object of this interface type, we want to use this class, which is going to be our application folder. So what this actually would do is if this class required anything, it would go and build all the dependencies. So now we never have to do new weather conditions provider and then provided what other dependencies that it needed. So if there was some type of database context or some type of HTTP client that needed to be passed into this, we wouldn't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about that with dependency injection. It's going to do that for us. And now we can focus on programming against this interface. So if this weather conditions provider were ever to change, what we could have actually named it is Star Wars weather conditions provider. And then if it were to ever change, we could just come in here, change the dependency registration as long as it implemented this interface, and theoretically everything in our application would continue to work. So that's what that is. So if we come into our weather conditions, now we actually want that class injected in here somehow. So one of the first things you're going to notice is that, well, hopefully, is that there is no constructor to pass that dependency into. So we're going to need to add that. Also, this class is static, so technically there would never be a constructor. So let's, for fun, remove this. And just because I'm curious, I want to see if our Azure function still works. So here's our weather conditions guy, and it's there. Well, it built, so let's run it to see if, we just added a whole bunch of stuff. We added unit tests, we added you can see here it's building the other application folders. That's the actual command, the CLI running. And we can see here that our weather conditions API endpoint was found. And if we run it, it was triggered successfully and it's still running. So we just went in there and manually changed it from a static class to a class that actually has to get instantiated, and it magically worked. Congratulations, that's awesome. So now that we have that, theoretically, I should be able to come in here and public public weather conditions, and then pass in our weather conditions provider, and then this, let's give it a property to set it to. Provider equals provider. So cool. We need to make this generate a read-only field. Oh, spelled it wrong. All right, so what this is going to do is now we have our dependency injection configured. Whenever this gets ran, the pipeline is going to look and say, hey, this class that we're trying to instantiate, because we've already seen it instantiated once whenever we ran the function, needs a concrete class that implements this interface. So inside our startup file, we tell it, if you see this interface, use this concrete class and pass it in. So that's going to get passed in here and set to a private read-only variable. This is just standard practice. The underscore in front of whether is just a way of denoting that this is a private variable and that we shouldn't be setting it with anything. We're just going to use it. So if we come in here, we should be able to, I don't know, let's just comment out all this code. So add line comment. So let's comment all that out. And string dot response message equals weather conditions provider dot get. And it's going to fuss because it actually wants to be a string. It's actually, we're going to have to deserialize this, huh? Do I have anything? Oh, look, here we go. All right, it does. It's built in. Okay, cool. JSON converts. I wasn't sure what they were using to deserialize things, but we can deserialize object weather condition dot get to this. I don't know. This may fuss. Let's see. It's not gonna like that, huh? Provider cannot convert from list to string. So it doesn't like deserialized objects. So let's see. Can we do this? List of well, let's see. JSON convert, deserialize, deserialize list. Well, that's what that says to do. That's what let's see. Let me found. Okay, easy enough. Well, let's see what you're fussing about. Can I refer? Conditions. Oh, I need the to list. All right, I'll try that. Provider dot. So from string. That's so weird. Oh no. it's not that this is going to make a bit of difference, but so just because we want extra work. Yeah, it didn't make a difference. Serialize versus deserialize? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I get for copying up here, because that's actually taking what's coming in. So you're right. You're right. Awesome. Good catch. Thank you. Live coding is always fun. So see if we get this ran. See if it actually works. I haven't got this far, so I've never. This is about as much as I've ever done with an Azure function. So, and there we go. There's our list of. Awesome. So that actually worked. Good job. Yeah. Okay. So, I think that is awesome. I wonder. So, what is y'all suggestions? Do we just put the ID in there? Do we just put the ID in the function? Do we try that and see how it makes us feel? This is new territory for me. So let's actually, oh man, I'm gonna have to parse this too. Oh, there's all kinds of stuff that's gonna have to go on here. So string ID. Oh. I don't know if ID equal null. Will it come back as null? Oh, a string is null or yeah, that's probably a better way of doing that. String dot is null or empty. I'm just gonna break it all out just to we can come back and refactor and make this look better some other time. So we can do response message equals weather conditions dot get dot int dot parse int. I don't remember. Int dot parse. I know this is not good. Don't do this normally. There needs to be way more validation and stuff around here, but since we're just having fun with it, then it's not really that big of a deal. JSON convert dot serialize object. I said this is painful to look at, but it's gonna be okay. So we can take all this out and come and get this and just put this in there and delete this. This is gonna work. Huh? Is it? I don't know. Let's try it out. I probably don't need to do that. But I did. So it is what it is. Good catch. Good catch. I'm glad to see somebody's paying attention. I got 2 people out there helping me out. I really appreciate it. So, I always is it weird if I would actually say y'all's names? Well, I mean, obviously Weber is close to having his name out there. I have not forgot about promoting your app. If you want to drop a link in here, I don't know if you have a link to the store or anything. I'll be happy to share it or show it. I haven't shared it on Twitter because Twitter has been down. So I haven't been able to access the BatonRouge.net user group Twitter account. So I did not forget, but let's go. Oh, come back in here. And run it. Okay, cool. I know. So the worst part about switching from YouTube to Twitch has been most people in Twitch actually use, an alias like Lehoma, and not their actual name. But on YouTube, people would use their actual name, so it's a lot easier to shout people out and talk to them. Uh-oh. But Austin said it's cool if I use his name. Obviously, my name is Brian. I think my Twitch name, I actually changed it because it was something super weird. And now it's actually BMcCoy04, because if you're ever looking for me, BMcCoy04 is the quickest way to find me. But yeah, grab me those links and I'll share those out. Yeah, I know who you are. So I'm just joking, Jared. But yeah, Austin, if you want to grab me those links, I'll show them. I should have showed them at the beginning, but I'll definitely show them at the next user group meeting. I like showcasing, local developers projects at our user group meeting, so that's great. And then I'll also share them out on Twitter as well. But anyway, as you can see here, we actually have our weather coming back. So Hoth says it's very cold. I know. Let's see if this works. Alderon says everything is essentially non-existent, which is what we would expect. And if we do 7, I'm just curious, nothing comes back. So that's great. So again, this isn't necessarily something I would want to send back to a UI. So I think for the next live stream, we may actually have to tidy this up. There's a lot of stuff going on in here that I wouldn't typically be thrilled about having inside an enterprise sized application. Most of my development is in the enterprise, so it's basically, you're going to write an application and you're going to maintain it for 5 years or more. And obviously, if you do that, that's where all your different layers of abstraction really come into play, and addressing cross-cutting concerns in a consistent way really help out. So there are some concerns in here, like obviously, I guess this isn't the end of the world, but you don't want to just blindly try parse stuff. So I don't know if I would actually want to put logic in here or not. I'd rather that be a separate route, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. There needs to be validation. You don't want to just, I guess it doesn't really matter. You just pull in the ID just the way it is like this. But anyway, I think an exception factory or something of that case is something that I would want to use. That way I can actually construct response objects in a meaningful way instead of just having null get returned. I also want Alderon to throw an exception if you request it. So we'll add that part in, so that way, people will know what's going on. Again, I like exceptions to tell me what's happening, not say something happened. So that's something that I'd want to do. But yeah, no, this has been interesting. I think we're at almost 2 hours now, hour and 40 minutes. My computer seems to be okay. I don't know if it hasn't caught on fire yet, so that's great. We actually have an Azure function running locally, and I think just to give me some more content for next time. Oh, look at that. He also has, oh, he got, so GitHub. So are you telling me you're actually accepting contributions? But this is the important thing. This is what we care about. Obviously, people go and download it. So he is accepting contributions. So that's awesome. What is this built in? You have some, look, Azure Functions. So we have an expert on the call. Also around the calls. It's functions. Yeah, no, definitely. That's amazing. So what I may do is guilt Austin into Expo, so React Native. Yeah, expert. Austin is an expert. Don't let him fool you. He works at a fantastic consulting firm, and I believe there's something about a podcast. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into his issues, but may have to con him into coming on here, and maybe we can do one of these pull requests together. I don't know. If you're interested in that, let me know. We can set something up. I think that'd be fun. I have a little bit of Expo knowledge. If not, we can. Oh wait, you don't have unit tests? Can I write unit tests for you? Would that be something? All right, cool. So we'll set something up, and we'll come on here. We'll either do, I don't know. We'll do something. We'll make it fun. Just it'll give Austin a chance to show us his awesome app. Y'all go out and download it. I have iOS. I will be downloading it today. Due to the quarantine, I have not ventured out of my house very much, but I'll be happy to go and submit something. I don't know. Can I mark my house as a historical landmark? But this is it. So if I'm not mistaken, it's for people to explore Louisiana and mark landmarks that they found. So if you're an outdoorsy type person, take advantage of this. It looks pretty awesome. So, and it's a way, I guess, to crowdsource some stuff. But anyway, yeah, I'll get with Austin and we'll figure something out. Maybe we can get him on here and we could do a PR, or he can do a PR and I could just watch. I think I know a moderator, so I'll have to, Austin said I could try to mark it, but the moderators may not approve it. So that's even better to know that. So you have an administrative backend on this too. That's fantastic. So you hit all facets of development. You have the iOS app and an Android app. You have an administrative backend, some, I don't know, website or something, obviously. And then you have Azure Functions, and if I saw correctly, some type of SQL data storage. I don't know. You have a SQL server somewhere, but cool. Yeah, well, definitely. What I'll do is I'll add I don't know, if nothing else, once I get this uploaded, I'll figure out the time Azure SQL database. Also says yes, there's an Azure SQL database on the back end. So awesome. What I can do is once I get this VOD updated, I will shout you out with our account and post a I don't know, a link directly to this section. I don't know. We could do something. We'll help promote your project though. This is awesome. So yeah, we'll get together. I'm gonna download it. I hope all of you, all 5 viewers out there download it. Help support our local developers, their projects. This is awesome. But I think with that, we've done enough today. I've wasted enough of your time on a Sunday morning. So thank y'all for coming and hanging out. This has probably been one of the longest streams we've had, mostly due to a lot of my failures. But, it's live coding. What do you expect? So anyway, yeah, go check out the links that have been posted. Go download you a new app. I'm going to post this VOD later. And, feel free to come in and try to recreate some of this stuff. Yeah, if you have any other questions, comments, or complaints, let me know. Thank y'all so much for hanging out and spending your Sunday morning with me. I hope everything went well. Please subscribe to, or not subscribe to Twitch. If you, we don't have a subscribe button, but like our Twitch channel, join our Discord. If you want to come on and share anything, let me know. We can get together. I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do this about every 2 weeks or so. There's no way I'd be able to do every Sunday, but this will be kind of our Sunday morning relax, not really official, just write some code streams. We'll still have our user group meetings the second Wednesday of every month. I don't want to give away too much, but I think, let's see, I'll let y'all in since there's only a few of y'all left. Carl Franklin from .NET Rocks and Blazor Train TV is supposed to be our next month's guest. He's a little tentative, so I don't know. It's either going to be him or me. The month after that will be Steve Smith, aka R. Dallas. He is the clean architecture guy. He does a lot of speaking around APIs. He's going to be talking something API related or maybe domain driven design related for us. So I'm really excited to have him on because I have stole a lot of his architecture ideas over the years. I actually did a talk similar to his about creating quality APIs because that was a subject that was very near and dear to me for a while. And then the month after that will be Maddie, I'm going to get her last name wrong, but Ledger, Leger, I believe. She is the Microsoft PM for Xamarin tooling and Maui, and she's going to come and talk about Maui with us. So we have some really good guests coming up, and I'm a little sad because I don't get to present hardly ever anymore, but that's okay. I'll just take the Sundays. So anyway, again, thanks for hanging out. Reach out to me if y'all want to do something. If y'all want to come on the stream and just code, or if you like this format and you want us to continue doing it, just any and all things. And until next time, I appreciate the viewing. Oh, let me get my running a stream by myself is difficult. Let's see. All right, and I'm out.